Hello everybody, Admiral Murphy here, today to bring you my number 3 favorite Star Trek series. Which one is it? Well, if you can't tell by the uniform, it's Star Trek, the original series. Now, I'm a fan of a lot of the classic, 60s shows and all that already, especially a lot of the sitcoms back then. There's just something about it that I like that era of storytelling. There's something nostalgic about it. And the original series definitely, it fits that boat, but I like the stories that it tells and how it establishes the Star Trek series as a whole. And so there's a lot of really great episodes to love in the original series that I think they don't lose any of the magic just because the effects, yeah, they're cheesy. I know people love it and they love the original series look, but this does not look like the future anymore. A lot of people, mini rant on Discovery, a lot of people hate that it doesn't look like this. It just doesn't look like it's set before the original series. I kind of agree with those people, but at the same time, nobody really wants to see this. At least a general audience doesn't really want to see this anymore on TV, at least when you're making a new show. I think Enterprise handled it really well with the In a Mirror Darkly episode and making that stuff look cool, but staying true to that era of Star Trek. But again, I just like I like watching the original series. It's not a show I feel like I have to watch from beginning to end as much because it is an anthology show. Each of the episodes is kind of standalone. And there's something just nice about that because a lot of the shows we have today are series that you have to watch from beginning to end. And I do like that. But I also like this. I like being able to just watch any of the original series episodes and it's a standalone story with something important to say, with something to make you think about it. And a lot of the messages from these episodes still really hold up today. So let's talk about it a bit. Some of my favorite episodes of the original series are mainly centered in season 1. Season 1, it's funny because what a lot of people say, Star Trek has crappy first seasons. I agree in some cases. But the original series, I wholeheartedly disagree. And it's weird because as a lot of the Star Trek shows got better as time went on, I feel the original series, as it went on, it just got worse. Season 1 was really well done. It's great. Season 2 is good. I don't find it as a whole better than Season 1. And then Season 3, I'll just tell you now, we're not going to talk about Season 3 because Season 3 is something I also don't rewatch like Seasons 1 and 2 of Voyager. It just has a lot of bad episodes and it has the worst finale of any of the Star Trek shows, I think. Now, it wasn't an official finale because the show got canceled, but it's still a really bad episode. So let's not talk about it. But let's talk about some more exciting episodes that were made, especially here in Season 1. First of all, The Man Trap was a great episode. That's the first one that people see. I like that one. It's a cool episode. The actual start of the show, the one with Captain Pike and Spock before they really knew, before they had the whole cast change. I like that episode a lot actually when I watched that. And it's surprising that they were like, let's toss this. I think the only good thing about tossing it is the cast and the characters are a lot more interesting in Kirk's Enterprise than they were in Pike's. Some of my favorite episodes out of Season 1, I'm looking at a list here of them now. What Are Little Girls Made Of was a really great episode. The Corbomite Maneuver was one of my favorite episodes as well. I especially like that. I feel like that episode really kind of gives the message of Star Trek perfectly because of the ending of that episode where they basically save the alien who's been harassing them and fighting them this entire time. And I think that goes to show the message of Star Trek and what it was supposed to be about. And I'm not going to talk terribly much about the JJ movies, but in contrast with the JJ movies, because in the first JJ movie, you have pretty much the same scenario made with the bad guy of that movie, Nero. And Kirk does offer to help him. The guy refuses, and he's like, okay, I'll blow you up. I don't know. I know he offered and it was refused, but it's a very stark contrast to the ending of that episode, the Corbomite Maneuver. Balance of Terror, a really good episode that introduced the Romulans. The Romulans end up being nothing like that episode later on, but another good episode. Arena with the Gorn. Again, it's got the worst fight scene I mean, come on, we all have to agree. It's really bad, but I like the story. And the Gorn are just a cool concept. I wish they would have been seen more in future Star Treks. Space Seed, again, really good story with Khan. Got turned into a movie. Loved the movie. Tomorrow is Yesterday, a really nice time travel episode. It's just I love all the time travel episodes where somebody from the era the show's getting made in gets to be on the ship of the show, and that was one of them. So it was a really cool one to see. You always are kind of jealous because you want to be that person, especially like in the Next Generation. All the people from the past who got to be there, you're like, damn, I want to be on that ship. The Devil in the Dark with the Horda, a really great episode. City on the Edge of Forever, loved that one. I liked the idea of the Gateway. Again, another classic Star Trek episode that if you're going to sit somebody and say, this is what Star Trek's about, I feel like that is kind of one you have to show them. All in all, I think my favorite episode of the first season, though, is A Taste of Armageddon. It's just a really exciting episode to watch. And I feel like that episode's message holds up even more today than it did in the past because of drone warfare. I'm not going to get too much into the debate over whether drones are good or not because I'm also mixed on that personally. But I don't think automated warfare was as big of an issue in the 60s as it is today. And that story is basically commenting on that idea. So it's funny that episode, I think, even holds up more today than it did then. And I think it's my favorite episode out of the original series. The only episode when I look at the first season that I really hate is the Alternative Factor. That's an episode I won't rewatch. It's just... that one is where the special effects don't hold up at all, I would argue. And the story is just confusing. It's kind of boring. I just don't enjoy that episode that much at all. So season 2's good, and season 3 kind of, yeah. Now, getting into the design of the Constitution class, I think I like it because of nostalgic reasons. But the original model is probably my least favorite of the Constitution class. I have the movie version up there, and that one I like a little more. Surprisingly, the J.J. Abrams redesign was the one that made me actually kind of respect the Constitution class a lot more. I know a lot of people don't like how they redesigned the Constitution for the J.J. movies, but I actually end up liking it, and it gave me more appreciation for this model here. So... but again, a lot of it's funny to see that that's how they thought the future would be like in the 60s. So there's kind of that nostalgic enjoyment of going back and watching that show. A lot of shows like Doctor Who, for example, when they brought Doctor Who back, I really enjoyed that, and I watched the hell out of it. But I cannot watch any of the early Doctor Who just because it doesn't hold up, and the stories aren't terribly interesting. It definitely has a completely different style of production for Doctor Who from classic to modern. Whereas the original series, I think it still holds up in some ways. The effects are kind of but in some ways they hold up. You can get past it, I feel, more than some of the other shows back then. Especially the remastered copies. But yeah, the characters, while they have some problems because... it was an anthology show. They're not always the same person between episodes. Sometimes they'll have different conflicting characteristics per week, depending on what the story needed them to do. But otherwise, they're characters you can relate to at some points. They're characters you grow to love. And I think that's what really makes the original series a strong Star Trek series. Which is good because it was the one that sprung forth the universe. And it's just funny to think that... it didn't catch on until after its cancellation. This was the last Star Trek series I got to watch all the way through. So it kind of sucks that season 3 was the ending of that adventure. I have not watched the animated series. I have attempted to, so I guess I'll lop it in here. I watched like 4 episodes and My problem with it is the animation styles, like that crappy 80s animation style that a lot of cheaply made cartoons had back then. So it's really hard for me to get past that. And I also just don't care that the episodes are really short. They're probably like 20, 30 minutes instead of the full length episodes you got in the original series. I like the original series movies. I'm not going to include them like with this in a ranking because they're in a way different. But I will say between the TNG movies and the original series ones, I like the original series ones a lot more. Maybe I'll review some of those in the future. But number 3 series in Star Trek is definitely the original series. I enjoy it. I think if you can get past some of the cheesy 60s graphics and all that, I think there's some really good stories here that you should enjoy if you haven't seen it before. But that's where I rank the original series. Let me know what you think. Are you a fan of the original series? Is it still your number 1 favorite show after all these years? I know some people that do think that, and I can see why. It's got some really great episodes to offer. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and please check out my Patreon. I got a Patreon set up. If you enjoy the videos and want more, if you can help me out, shoot me $1 at minimum. If you feel inclined to, please do so. I really would appreciate it. I'll catch you guys here tomorrow for my number 2 Star Trek series. See you then.